Assalamualaikum and welcome to Reality Check, your daily look at the news that truly matters. Tonight we are covering stories that show just how interconnected the world has become, from travel and diplomacy to human rights and global security. First, some good news for Pakistani travelers to the Gulf. A new agreement with the United Arab Emirates will allow Pakistani nationals to clear immigration before leaving Pakistan, saving hours at the airport and easing travel for workers, students, and business community. It's a small change for travelers, but a big step for Pakistan's economy and diplomacy. Then we turn to South Asia, where India's ambitions in Afghanistan and overseas threats against activists abroad, highlighting regional stability and protecting human rights. And finally, we take you to Iran, where protests, US threats, and global diplomacy are converging into a potential regional crisis. Families are risking everything for their voices to be heard, while governments debate sanctions and military actions thousands of miles away. Stay with us because tonight we break down the facts, cut through the noise, and show the reality behind the headlines. Pakistan-UAE pre-immigration clearance agreement. Today we begin with some good news for Pakistani travelers heading to the Gulf. Pakistan and the United Arab Emirates have agreed to implement a pre-immigration clearance system for Pakistani nationals. What does that mean? Simply put, Pakistani passengers will now complete all UAE immigration checks before leaving Pakistan. When they land, they can walk straight out of the airport just like domestic travelers. This pilot project will start in Karachi, and if that goes well, it will expand to other major cities like Lahore and Islamabad. But let's talk, why is this important? Well, in 2025, Pakistani travelers faced long delays and visa challenges when entering the UAE. Some visas were temporarily stopped, and long queues at the immigration became a real headache, especially for the business community, students, and workers. This new agreement saves time, reduces stress, and makes travel smoother, while also boosting Pakistan's economic ties with the UAE. Remember, the UAE is one of the Pakistan's largest trading partner, and Gulf remittances bring in around $35 billion every year, so faster, easier travel benefits for everyone. And here's the big picture. It's not just the convenience. This initiative strengthens Pakistan-UAE diplomatic relations and shows the world that Pakistan is ready to modernize and streamline its travel systems to meet the global standards. Stay with us because after this we'll bring you the latest on India's growing troubles and how politics is affecting cricket in the region once again. Pakistan's calm, responsible approach stands out. Let's now look at India's expanding influence in Afghanistan and how Pakistan's steady approach contrasts with New Delhi's overreach. Now let's talk about India and its growing ambitions in Afghanistan. Recently, the Taliban appointed Noor Ahmed Noor as charge d'affaires at their embassy in New Delhi. This is the first senior Taliban envoy to India since the group returned to power in 2021. India has not officially recognized the Taliban government, but the appointment signals that New Delhi is trying to deepen its influence in Kabul. Let's put this in context. For decades, India invested over $3 billion in aid and infrastructure projects in Afghanistan: schools, roads, and the Salma Dam, even the Kabul Parliament building. India also provided the military training and other support to Afghan security forces before the Taliban's return. But here's the reality check. Despite India's claims of humanitarian aid and development, its presence in Afghanistan has always been part of a geopolitical contest with Pakistan. India's investments aren't just charity, they're designed to counter Pakistan's influence and secure a strategic foothold right on Pakistan's doorstep. Meanwhile, Pakistan has historically maintained ties with Taliban and enjoys influence in border security and regional dynamics. India, on the other hand, is trying to play both sides using humanitarian projects as cover for its strategic ambitions. After the Taliban's return, India upgraded its technical mission in Afghanistan into a full embassy in October 2025 without officially recognizing the government. This shows that India is eager to protect its investment and expand influence even as Pakistan remains the natural partner for Kabul. Here's the bottom line. India is trying to expand its reach in Afghanistan not just for peace or stability, but to contain Pakistan and project power in the region. Meanwhile, Pakistan continues to work responsibly, respecting Afghan sovereignty and maintaining regional stability as well. So while India talks of aid and diplomacy, Pakistan's consistent, balanced approach is quietly shaping outcomes in Kabul without unnecessary overreach or political tactics. While India projects power abroad, another troubling story unfolds. Sikh activists in the UK are facing serious threats from state actors. This is a reminder of the foreign policy that can have the real consequences, not just for the governments, but for the people on the ground. Rising tensions in Iran, protests, United States threats, and the global reactions. Tonight, we turn our attention to Iran, where ongoing protests, international pressures, and diplomatic activity are creating a tense and complex situation. What happens here could have a wider regional implications as well. Over the past 2 weeks, people across Iran have taken to the streets. Initially, the demonstrations were driven by economic concerns, including inflation and the devaluation of Iranian rial. But they have also grown into a broader calls for political participation and women's rights. According to Norway-based Iran Human Rights, at least 648 people have been confirmed dead, including 9 minors. However, some estimates suggest that the toll could be significantly higher, with internet access restricted in many areas. Independent verification of events remains challenging. Malala Yousafzai has also highlighted the broader social context, noting that restrictions on women and girls are part of the backdrop to these protests. She emphasized the courage of people in raising their voices and calling for greater participation in decisions that affect their lives. The United States has issued statements warning of potential military action and has announced a 25% tariff on the countries doing business with Iran. These measures affect Iran's main trading partners, including China, Turkey, the UAE, and Iraq. Additionally, US-Iranian dual nationals have been advised to leave Iran due to safety concerns, highlighting the direct impact of geopolitical tensions on the individuals. Iranian officials have made clear that they consider foreign military presence and economic sanctions as a serious concern. Iranian parliament speaker also described US military and shipping as a potential targets, while Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei has framed this situation as four-front challenge: economic, psychological, military, and domestic. At the same time, reports indicate that diplomatic channels remain open, with discussions between Iranian officials and the US representatives continuing quietly behind the scenes. Authorities have also emphasized that they are prepared to defend the country if needed. Regional and global actors are closely monitoring the situation. Qatar has warned the escalation could have widespread consequences. China has also expressed opposition to unilateral sanctions. Russia has criticized foreign interference, and the European Union has also voiced support for the rights of protesters, hinting at potential diplomatic measures. This is the situation with multiple layers: domestic unrest, economic pressures, international sanctions, and diplomatic negotiations all are happening simultaneously. The people of Iran are directly affected by these developments, and the international community is watching closely. So the question remains: in times of economic strain, political protests, and international tension, whose voices are shaping the future of individuals on the streets or policymakers abroad. The story is developing and we will continue to track all the aspects from public demonstrations to diplomatic efforts and regional implications. Iran is at a critical moment and the world is observing closely. So tonight we have seen a spectrum of news from the progress and innovation to human rights crisis and geopolitical tension. Pakistan is modernizing travel, strengthening ties with the UAE, and showing that responsible, patient diplomacy pays off. Contrast with the India, whose action in Afghanistan, overseas threat to activists, and internal politics continues to create a friction with neighbors and beyond. And in Iran, ordinary people are literally putting their lives on the line for the freedom and dignity while the whole world debates sanctions, tariffs, and military operations. These stories remind us that the strength is not about shouting who is the loudest, it's about acting responsibly, protecting people, and making decisions that don't put lives at risk. So ask yourself, in a world full of economic pressures, political overreach, and global power plays, whose future is being decided, the people in the streets or the politicians thousands of miles away? Stay informed, stay critical, and never stop asking the hard questions. I'm Ramna Saeed, and this has been your reality check. Thank you for watching.